Hi, Michael Goldman here from the Gordon Institute of Business Science, and we're delighted to welcome Kevin Vermaak, the CEO and founder of the Absa Cape Epic, which this year in 2013 will have its 10th race. So Kevin, quite a significant milestone. How do you feel about reaching 10 years?
Indeed, it's incredibly satisfying, and to think back that we really just started as a fun project and a mountain bike race after all, and that's turned into a very sustainable, healthy business now with a great future.
And it has attracted significant interest from around the world. We know how many countries are represented and how many world champions are represented, and you really have an awesome field that's a mixture, right, of pro riders and also amateur riders. How did that thinking come about to have that kind of mixture and have that kind of field?
Well, the pro riders bring the media and create returns for sponsors, but then certainly the amateur riders create the camaraderie of the event. And it's a unique mix because there aren't many events in the world, not only mountain bike events, but sport events where you could participate with world champions and Olympic gold medalists. And the riders taking part this year will ride the exact same route, be subject to the exact same rules and weather conditions as 13 previous and reigning mountain bike world champions. Olympic gold, silver and bronze from last year's Olympics, gold, silver and bronze from last year's World Championships, and a number of other celebrities or sporting celebrities from around the world.
Do you think that's part of the appeal, not just for the amateur riders from South Africa, but also some of these international world champions, that mixture in some way is part of the appeal of coming?
Well, look, the world champions want to win it. And I think that we've created sufficient media output for the event for the sponsors of those teams and the sponsors of those pro riders to now say, you have to race the Epic and you have to do well at it. That's why we're paying you some money. For the amateurs, it's a truly unique experience. And I think that the camaraderie that's created and the competitiveness of the athletes all the way back to the rider coming last, he wants to come second last. And that competition endures for all 8 days of the event, and it makes it very special for all the riders.
But seriously, when I watch these videos, these guys go through hell. I'm not sure enjoyment is one of the words that they use at the end. So how do you think about creating such an appealing proposition for people to travel from around the world and for amateurs to put aside so many days and to go through such hardship over those days? Is that enjoyable for them? How do you position that?
Yeah, sure. Our goal is not to make it the toughest race in the world, but certainly we want that finisher's medal to mean something truly special. And because riders are preparing for the race better and better every year, we have been able to make it tougher. And so today, if you in the mountain biking community, or in fact even if you're an athlete, and you say, or a businessman in fact for that matter, and you say that you're an Absa Cape Epic finisher, it really means something. It's almost a rite of passage in a rapidly growing sport, and that's what we're offering to someone from any walk of life around the world. Come into South Africa, finish the Absa Cape Epic and be someone as a finisher.
From a competitive strategy point of view, as you think about the race and you design this with riders in mind, do you look at other races? Do you kind of tweak every year based on what other guys are doing? Because obviously everyone's watching you as you've set the pace in this area. I know you looked internationally to start with, but do you constantly look at the competition and tweak and make changes on that basis?
Well, we definitely tweak and make changes every year. It's probably more inward looking than looking at competition for that. We are conscious of what other people are doing, but I think that the culture of innovation that we've created at the race has been through having an awesome team that is always looking to improve. And we surrounded ourselves with partners that are also pushing the boundaries and want to do things better and better every year. So I think that most of the innovation comes from within rather than looking at other mountain bike races. Certainly looking at other sport events, it does happen. And we travel around the world to go and look at other mass participation events. And every year we manage to put in a few. And for our 10th edition this year, we've taken some very special steps, which ironically are now true to our culture of innovation, are actually going to be part and parcel of all future races, no longer just the 10th edition.
And you've spoken a little bit about those partners. So you have some amazing partners, Absa, Exaro, Telkom, and many others. Can you talk a little bit about how you went about developing those kinds of relationships, how you initiated that? How does Kevin Vermaak think about raising sponsorship?
Well, first of all, for example, talk about partnerships in general. certainly we've got partners at all levels, from Absa as a title sponsor that's putting in a large portion of the budget in cash, to a smaller sponsor that one might not even see unless you're actually taking part in the race and getting your bike washed. But every single one of those partners has got tremendous passion for the event, and they're delivering a service that really we couldn't pay for. So for example, we've got Woolworths will do our water points and provide food at our water points. Now, every mountain bike race I go to around the world, the water points are typically run by the community or a local charity organization or a farmer whose farm you're passing through. You know, for us to have a premium retailer looking after the food, you know, the supply chain all the way to the water point, it makes me sleep at night because I know the guys are never going to get sick from the food at the water points.
What's the toughest part of negotiating some of those deals, some of those partnerships? If you think about the going in and facilitating those and perhaps working with some of the agencies that you work with around doing that, what's been the toughest part of that for you?
To be honest, once we meet someone within the company that understands the race, that may have done the race before and is involved in the sport of mountain biking, and that's becoming more frequent now because the sport is growing in the country, and you often come across executives and decision makers that are mountain bikers themselves. It's becoming easier and easier because they understand the event and they can see what they can get out of it, and that's also the determining factor as to whether the sponsorship works or not, because it's not about buying perimeter boards in a stadium. You definitely, a sponsor can definitely not expect the sponsorship to work if they're just putting some cash on the table and they expect to see their logo X number of times at the Absa Cape Epic. It's a very unique property, and it really requires close and sometimes complicated engagement to make it work.
Finally, you talk about yourself as an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs sometimes become quite restless. And after 10 years of looking after this one baby, is there an opportunity for Kevin Vermaak to go and do something else? Do you have that burning desire in your gut to go and to play another game and to go and find out whether you can apply your entrepreneurial skills in another space? Or do you think you found a home and become perhaps less entrepreneurial in terms of starting new things?
I think I'll have a different answer on a different day of the week. But you know, I think the Absa Cape Epic has got a long way to grow still, and I would hate to think that in 10 or 20 years' time it doesn't reach its full potential because I, chose to sell out and go and do something else. I'd love to see a legacy. I'd love to see the event grow to its true capacity and true potential. It could be that it could come a time when someone else is better to manage the business at the phase it's in than I am. I think at the moment I'm still required that entrepreneurial fire to take it further. But obviously it's much bigger than it was. So I can still have that, I can still utilize that, or at least satisfy that entrepreneurial fire, but while getting awesome managers that are running the day-to-day business of the Absa Cape Epic.
Well, Kevin Vermaak, thanks very much for joining us, and good luck for the next 10 years of the Absa Cape Epic.
Thank you.